Well, hello. Hey, Adam James, how are you, man?
I'm incredible, James. How you feeling, man?
Good. This is a weird way to do an interview. I'll try not to yell at you because I'm sure you can hear me if I talk like this. But you're
Well,
really far away.
yeah. Well, the excitement of James B. It's you can't hold the back. They can't hold the man back.
I don't want to. First of all, a toast to you. That's what we do here.
Oh,
Mm,
cheers! I've got my special cup here.
wow. I
I
have
know.
one of those.
You do?
Yeah, like 10 feet away from me.
Wow. Well, I've got kombucha in mine.
Well, I find that when you put water in a cup like this and you leave it in your windowsill, it like magically transforms into the purest, most beautiful water within about an hour, and then you just drink it.
Copper water.
It might be my imagination, but I don't know. Uh, Before we get to your music and you, I want to get into the right now. Puerto Rico during COVID-19, but you're like, tell me, where were you and how beautiful was that?
So I feel like I went to the last music festival in the world before the world closed. I was in Costa Rica at this amazing festival. If you want to look it up, it's called Envision
Yeah.
Festival. And I was doing shows down there, and it was it was magical. Like a festival right on the beach, and like 10,000 people kind of vibe. It was a great festival. And then I spent a few weeks in Costa Rica up in the mountains, kind of like doing a lot of writing, hanging in the rainforest. And then the news started to come in about, the world falling apart. And so some friends of mine in Puerto Rico, Brock Pierce and Crystal Pierce, their 1-year-old daughter was having a birthday. So they're like, you have got to come to her birthday party in Puerto Rico and we need you to sing. And so I flew to Puerto Rico, and then the world closed, and they're like, well, just stay at one of our houses and write some music. And
At one of our houses.
yeah, yeah. It was amazing. So I was in this like boathouse essentially on a spot in Puerto Rico adjacent to the ocean, and just was able to wake up every day and make music and, be basically like,
I notice you haven't gained weight, so you're obviously not living in a city in an apartment for 3 months. Not just me, I'm saying everybody. Everybody.
Well, I've been doing my yoga, I've been like eating less and like trying to stay healthy, just healthy in a different way because it's been challenging.
Tell me about the music you're making right now. I want to go back into the old stuff, but right now, what are you working on these days?
So I was writing for a new artist. His name's Tommy Leon, and he's an amazing singer. He's 25-year-old singer, guitar player who's phenomenal. And
Not Tommy Lee.
No, not Tommy Lee. Drummer who plays upside down. That's Tommy Lee.
Right.
No, this is Tommy Leon. So incredible singer, great, amazing guitarist. So we were writing material for his first sort of full-length record, and really great process. And so,
are you on to write songs, or will you be singing on it as well?
I'll be singing on it a little bit, probably backup, but it's his album. We're focusing on him. He's an amazing artist. So, but what really happened, like we started writing the first month in quarantine. It was he and I in this spot, and we were writing songs for him. And then in the second month, I was like, what can I do? Because I don't have any, all my live gigs were canceled with my show at the Jazz Bistro that you lined up for me. I was really looking forward
the April show, about 4 shows actually in April.
Yeah. Like I was so stoked, and I was going to do a whole bunch of shows. Yeah. In Ontario. And then I had a whole bunch in LA that I was going to do. And of course for everyone, it was canceled. So I figured, what can I do? And so I got this idea, like, what if I send people videos of songs that are about them? So I take a famous song, I rewrite the lyrics, and I make it about their life.
Yeah.
And I realized my dad has been doing this my whole life. He's been singing custom songs for people's birthdays or retirements. So I just did it on video. And so I made these music videos and send them to people for Mother's Day, for Father's Day. People started hiring me, and I've done almost 100 of these videos now. And they're called Singstagrams, and they really powerful for me because it makes a big difference in someone's life, because it's like having their own song about them, Like,
hey, you remember Blazing Saddles, Candygram for Mongo. Yeah. Well, they used to have singing telegrams, and now you can do it virtually on your phone.
yeah, exactly. So I've been rewriting these pop songs, and it's been great. So it's called Singstagram. So if anyone wants to honor someone in their life or like immortalize someone, and I realized that
The
he's
link will be right below us here
great.
on the
Right.
YouTube, on the old YouTube.
And I've
Hey,
realized, you know,
don't
people.
say your kombucha. I gotta say, this isn't kombucha, it's Aberfeldy.
Nice. Cheers.
Mm.
Mm.
I don't need a chaser, but I am thirsty.
Okay, me too. Sorry, mine's just bigger. That's all.
What's in that one? The same thing that's in the other one, right? It's
This
poured out.
kombucha and water, you know?
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the early days when you first figured out, what was it, actual jazz and Frank Sinatra? Because you do that so well. I tend to think maybe you grew up post Rat Pack, but smack dab in the middle.
You know, when I was a kid, I listened to folk music. My parents would play folk music. My dad's a folk musician, sings guitar and plays, and he ran the Ontario Folk Festival for high school students at Georgetown District High School in Ontario. And so I was around all these musicians all the time, and I would sing harmony to my dad's melody. And then later on, I got into rock and roll, and I was playing drums and singing in my rock band. But I kind of retired from rock when I was in grade 10 and got into jazz, because in jazz, you could go to university. And it was really important in our family that you go to university. And so I didn't really want to go to university for anything boring. So I got into McGill as a jazz drummer. I actually studied with Jim Blackley in Toronto when I was in high school, who's a legendary teacher of all the Toronto jazz drummers and Canadian jazz drummers. And then got into McGill, was singing in the big bands, was singing and playing drums, started my band Panache. And I was in love with the music of Sinatra. And when he passed away in 1998, Tina Sinatra, his daughter, was tipped off that I was a Sinatra guy. And so I auditioned, and they hired me to play Frank Sinatra in the first musical that the Sinatra family produced the year after Frank died.
Whoa, I didn't realize, I knew that they had something to do with it. I didn't realize it was that heavy.
It was heavy.
So really, that's just like, because I try to tell people, you do Sinatra as Adam Jaymz, but you show in any song that you nail it for a little while, and then you have your own cheeky, smacking way of doing things, right? Not enough Sinatra impersonators or tribute artists, they don't have enough swagger. You have your own swagger, yet you can nail the way he sings, but you only do it once in a while.
Wow, well, that's thank you for that way of seeing it, because that's kind of how it evolved. I really studied him a lot when I was in high school and then in university. And then, you know, people were like, you know, do your own thing, you know, play with it. And so I started to go between, and, you know, Sinatra's phrasing is really his magic sauce. So right. I would just kind of like use his guidelines. And so I carry Sinatra's phrase book into other songs that I do in other styles, you know?
Yeah, right.
I've learned his magic, so yeah.
You have come up here in Toronto to do a lot of gigs with the Youth Big Band. Avery Raquel doing some sweet little duets with you.
She's incredible. I love her voice and her energy.
What's odd is the two of you have quite the age difference, but on stage, you seem forever young, and she steps it up a notch. You can tell that she really wants to nail it.
Totally. Well, she's got a real classic kind of approach to jazz singing. Like she's really studied the great jazz singers, and so I think she wants to honor that tradition, as well as, you know, she also sings in her like style, like for what a 20 something.
Yeah. What a 20-year-old, or I don't know what she is, 18 or 19-year-old, whatever she, that kind of voice often has a little bit of extra angst or something in it in the pop sense. But when she sings jazz, I gave her a song one time. I gave her Wayne Newton, Shangri-La, which is really hard to sing. And she nails it. And of course, Wayne Newton sounded like a girl when he was 15 or something. So,
Right.
I mean, it's really hard to sing for anybody, male or female. But she nails it. And it kind of reminds me of a lot of unsung heroes. Well, they're not unsung because they're singers, but maybe they're not as famous as they should be. Like Edie Gourmet in Vegas could hit the highest notes. Keely Smith was a great singer, right?
James, I got to tell you, one of the coolest moments of my life ever was when I lived in New York City and I was able to do a radio show with Keely Smith.
Wow.
Dude,
I sang right up till the end.
Yeah. Joey, do you know Joey Reynolds? On his Joey Reynolds show, he was like long time shock DJ. He was like before Howard Stern. He was
sure. But you were on a show with her.
Yeah, he was like, Adam, you got to come down. Because he was all about carrying on the torch and having all the people meet the people. So he had me on his show when he had Keely Smith on. And so I was like, oh my God. This is good. Yeah, so I got to sing a little bit with her, and we went out for dinner after, and I got to ask her all about like life with Louis Prima and like living in Vegas and that whole thing. But she's like such a legend. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, how much time did you spend in New York? You were pretty much based there for a while, right?
I was there for 6 years. I moved from Montreal to New York. I had a Canada Council grant to study jazz singing with Mark Murphy.
What? The things I don't know about you, my friend. Oh my God.
I'm glad we're catching up, you know?
Mark, yeah, for everyone to witness too, which is really cool. So Mark Murphy, one of the most important jazz singers ever.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
It was crazy. It was so crazy to study with him too, because he's a wild one.
Oh, I know. Don Franks told me stories about him. He was definitely the old style of jazz singer, which was a bad boy.
Exactly. And freestyle, and like really, he was really connected to the musicians that he played with, like really honored their work. Like he thought of himself as just another instrument in the orchestra.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Wasn't a singer, you know? Right. And so from him, it was great to come from Montreal, where I had done the Sinatra thing and really, you know, straight ahead big band type singing. And then to move to New York and study with Mark Murphy, who was like, you know, like get all that, like, just let's mix it up with some wildness, like tell the story of the song, but also like, how are you feeling? Like, what's happening for you now? You know, like that was
right.
Yeah.
That's wild. So 6 years in New York, what were some of your favorite places to play?
Okay. So here's a piece of trivia that is kind of interesting. So I got hired to be in this off-Broadway show, which turned out to be one of the longest off-Broadway shows of all time, longest running. It was called Our Sinatra. And I joined it a few years into its run. And I became like the male singer. There was a piano player singer some of those were Tony DeStere, who's an incredible piano player singer, and Peter Sincotti, who's also great piano player singer. And Hillary Cole was a singer that I sang with. And so we started doing shows at Birdland. We would do 8 shows a week at Birdland. So in 2002, I figured that we did, what's 8 times 6 times 4? It's probably a lot of numbers. I didn't
know there was going to be math in this interview. Sorry.
I know.
I'm busy. Hold on. You figure it out. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So we figured out that
That's a lot of performances.
Well, we figured out we did more shows at Birdland than Charlie Parker.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know. Isn't that weird? All you have to do is 8 shows a week for 8 months times, you know. Yeah.
Right. And show up for every gig.
Yeah. And that was, you know, sometimes it was hard to get there because it'd be snowing, or, you know, you kind of go crazy when you have to do 8 shows a week in New York and you only have Mondays off.
Let me ask you, did you ever play or check out things like Club Zinc?
Oh.
Zinc Bar?
Dude. When Zinc was on Houston Street, it used to be on Houston Street, and it was downstairs.
Yeah.
And I would go there every Sunday night to see Serginho Teixeira and his Brazilian trio.
Sure.
Like, mind blowing. Like
it would go till 2 or 3 in the morning, even on a Sunday, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But what they were playing was so next level, because they're all Brazilian, grew up in Brazil. and then they overlay all of the jazz influence on top of their traditional Brazilian music. And they're playing as a trio, really improvising. Like, it was so unique. Like, I've really never found another like Brazilian style music that's like what he does.
Right.
Serginho Teixeira, check him out. He's amazing.
I know he played there for many. What they did in that bar was they booked somebody and they let them play for, it could be 4 months or 6 months residency once a week.
Yeah, once a week, exactly.
Brilliant idea.
I tried to get him. I tried to make it work out that I could have his trio back me up for a Canadian tour, but it didn't materialize. But it would have been my dream to do. Yeah.
Hey, I'm still learning as I'm doing these interviews, and I just turned down my own lighting on my computer.
Oh.
So hopefully it's dimmed a little bit of the shine coming at you. I don't know how this is going visually. You look fantastic.
Well, how can you dim the shine of Jaymz B? Like, that's an eternal shine. And speaking of which, I've been kind of looking at what you got going on in the background there. You got some really cool stuff. And like, look at how orderly and clean and everything. How do you keep it all so, like, I guess, you're spending time at home. Whoa.
Oh yeah, it keeps going.
How do you do that? Like, whose stuff is all that?
Oh, that's all my stuff. Well, no, actually, I live with 2 other people here. I live here with Vaisi Tayeb and Heather Lockhart. So it's a blend of stuff, but really a lot of the stuff you're seeing on screen is my stuff. It's the tacky stuff. There's also nice stuff in the house too.
But like, what do? You polish it? Like, you go along?
You know what? I'm glad you asked. I use this. This is Elva's. It's backwards, but it's Elva's cleaner. This is all natural. Elva's all naturals. And you just imagine that the right way. You can drink it if you vote for Trump, but I wouldn't. Don't drink it, folks. I'm kidding. This is a great all-purpose cleaner, and they are now officially the sponsor of this show just because you asked me.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is a lot to dust. I used to, many months ago, I had something called a housekeeper who came in and I tidied up. And that was my contribution to the house because I'm a bachelor and I'm on the move. Now I'm not on the move so much. So I'm always doing dusting and we're all cleaning and the place is still beautiful, but it takes a lot of work.
So you just fire up the leaf blower and you just like...
You know those little cans that blow air?
Yeah.
For like keyboards? That's the only thing I would trust with these. I don't want to say they're heirlooms. They're tacky, but I'll never find them again.
It's true. They have there's a lot of
collect weird shit. Hey, let me ask you about some of the other places you've lived because I'm really curious. I didn't know all the stuff about New York. So, did you spend much time in London?
I did I did probably about a month in London rehearsing for a show called The Rat Pack live from Las Vegas. And it was a West End show, like a Broadway show, but London style.
Yeah.
And I did the rehearsal there, and then we went on a North American tour of that show. So it was.
So the rehearsals in England, but the show's in the U.S.
Yeah. So because they had multiple casts of the show, because it was a great show, big band on stage, and we actually played at the Cannon Theater there in Toronto. Has it changed its name?
It's changed its name, but it's the Ed Mirvish Theater now.
Okay. Yeah. So we played there for at least 6 weeks or 2 months or something.
Right on.
And then we played all over the US. So it was fun to spend some time in London though. Yeah.
What's another, you mentioned Costa Rica, which is heaven on earth. What's some other favorite places you've been to, whether you've worked there or not, but just places that you think everyone needs to see?
Okay. Number one for sure is Japan. 100% Japan. I'd say Tokyo is
like the most expensive place to go, but okay, we all have to see it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. It's like a playground for adults, really, in the sense of so creative and such a evolved culture where like, meets new technology.
Right, and Japanese people love jazz and really listen to it, and they love some of the performance art I've seen there is pretty outrageous.
Oh yeah, they love people who are expressive, just generally. So it doesn't have to be just jazz, but The Japanese are incredible. And then I would also say Cuba. Havana is a magical, magical place. Again, very, very different than, it's kind of caught in the time warp, which is amazing too, you know?
Right. And
And
the
Brazil,
music and the
Brazil.
food, if it's home cooked, it's so good.
Oh, so good. But Brazil also, like, so when I moved to New York, I got this Canada Council grant to study with McMurphy. And then I moved to New York 10 days before September 11th happened.
Whoa.
So I was a Canadian in New York, you know, pretty new to town, didn't know many people, was pretty lost. Actually, you know, the week that I got there, I started hanging out with Nora Jones and her band through the jazz community. And this was before her record came out. So we were just hanging out, you know, talking about music, and we were both like dreaming of being like backup singers for famous other singers. And then September 11th happened. And so we were all kind of helping each other out at that time. And then her record came out, and then New York kind of closed down. So I went to Brazil in 2002 for Carnival.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
Of course you did. You went to Carnival.
I went to Carnival, got to experience a whole shift in energy. And some of my family who lives in Rio were amazing. They showed me around, and that really opened my eyes to like the magic of that kind of music in its, you know, in its home. Yeah.
That's awesome. I haven't been to Brazil. I really liked Colombia, some of the best meals of my entire life in Colombia, but I would love to get down to Carnival. Now, I said, of course, because you like to trip like fantastic. You have been at Electric Eclectics Festival and regular at Burning Man, which is a lot closer to you being based in Los Angeles. I mean, more often than not, I guess.
True.
LA is your home. Although Toronto and New York, you bounce around, but you're kind of based there, right?
Yeah, LA's been my home for the last 10 years. And my sister,
I've seen you there 6 times, I think, in LA. You go to a lot of good parties.
Yeah, we have some fun. There's some creative fun here in the Hollywood and in the.
But tell me about Burning Man. Like, how many times have you gone, and what's an outrageous thing you might have offered to the people?
So Burning Man is
something you can say that everyone will know. By the way, remember.
Yeah, so Burning Man is beyond a festival. A lot of people refer to it as an experiment, and it's a collective of people coming together to co-create an experience. So, you know, when you go to a traditional music festival, there's like a lineup and a booklet that you know, who's playing when. Burning Man's not really like that. It's kind of like you just bring your art, you bring what you want to share, and then you share it, but then you go out and see what everyone else is sharing as well. So it's a truly co-created experience, and it really reframed for me what art is, because the art that's out there in the middle of the desert is massive. Some of it is just like, you know, 12 stories tall, and it's like.
So for people that haven't been, I mean, most people have seen it on YouTube and seen things and heard about people running into fires on acid or something like that. What is I'm trying to get a grasp for people on what is the scope as far as just like, you know, you see one big sculpture, but that's just one sculpture in one photo, right?
Right. Yeah.
It spreads out all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's I can't remember the exact space, but it's miles and miles large, contained in the space, and there's 70,000 people. And so we camp in a very orderly sort of grid semicircle, and then there's all this open space for the art. It's an incredible layout. And so yeah, art at scale really changed my life, like seeing people bring all these projects out and then build them on the playa and then tear them down or burn them. And then by a month or two after Burning Man, there's absolutely nothing there on the playa again. The space is completely flat, as if nothing's happened. So
part of the entry fee is the cleanup fee, obviously, because they bring people in to clean up the desert.
Yeah, well, exactly. And there's 10 principles of Burning Man, and one of the principles is self-reliance. So you're responsible for your own trash and your own water, your own food. Like there's no vending, there's nobody selling anything. There's no money exchanged.
Right.
You know? So, and it's not even barter. You don't even like exchange. You just gift things to people. So,
Right.
you know, if
Right. You
want
don't go up to someone and say, I didn't bring any water, but I'll give you a hot dog. It doesn't work like that.
you could do that. It'd be fine. But you could just say, well, I'd love some water right now. And someone will just be like, here you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So I guess next year, I know here for
and so I've been
they said this year it's canceled. So next year is going to be really quite large. And even if there was social distancing, even if that came back, they would now be prepared for a way of actually doing something, whereas we were kind of blindsided. Ideally, we'll get back to the program, but if we are still altered, at least people have time to come up with new ways of making things work. You think that's true?
Yeah, I think there's going to be massive adapting to how to make this work in the future. Like, we just have to get healthier.
Yeah.
You know, we have to build some immunity and stop eating so much junk and focus on our health. You know, I think if we even have a small amount of people do that, it's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to change a lot of society.
I'm going to toast you to that idea because my glass is empty. So I'm going to be able to do that with a good conscience. Air. All right. So tell me, is there a story you can share with us? Something that went wrong for you on stage or on tour, but something that maybe is a bit of a shell shocker or a little showstopper, something special.
Okay, so this is a good one. I love telling this because I look like a real idiot in this story. So when I was living in New York, my friends in Montreal, because I just moved from Montreal, and so a bunch of my friends were organizing the Grand Prix, the Formula One race.
Yeah.
They were organizing this Grand Prix ball, which was like a fundraiser for some of the charities involved with the Grand Prix. And so they're like, hey, Adam, we'd love to have you come sing at this ball that happens at the Windsor Station, beautiful black tie. But we're looking for a headliner. So I was like, okay, let me think about it. So I just met Norah Jones, and she wasn't that big yet. So they were like, I don't know about her. So then they're like, well, and then I was like, well, my friend plays piano for Tony Bennett. What about Tony Bennett? Okay. So I put them together with Tony Bennett's team, and it worked out. They hired Tony Bennett to play this event in Montreal. So the day comes, I'm going to open for Tony Bennett at this black
By the
tie.
way, that's extremely big money.
Yeah. It was cool. It was cool. Well, it was big money for him, not so for me.
But no. I'm telling you, yeah, that's what I mean. Getting him to leave New York is not cheap.
Right. Yeah, totally. So we did the sound check, and I didn't see him or anything. And so I was thinking, you know what? I sing most of the same songs as he does. So I'm going to call his son and just make sure the set list so I don't sing the same songs, So I get the number to call the hotel, and I call the Chateau Champlain. I call this number. I'm like, hi, this is Adam. I'm looking for Tony. And he goes, well, this is Tony. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I got Tony Bennett on the phone now. So I'm a little shocked. I haven't met him yet. And he's like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, this is Adam. I'm going to open for you tonight at the show. It's like, oh, that's great, kid. That's great. So I'm just want to make sure I don't sing the same songs as you. I want to make sure your set list, he's like, you know what? Sing whatever you want. Have a great time. I'm like, okay. So now I've kind of concluded the official business that I had to talk to Tony Bennett about. So what am I going to say? How can I make this funny? How can I, become friends with Tony Bennett? So my brain goes, I'll make a joke. So I said, well, okay, Tony, I great. I'll sing, my songs, but I guess I won't sing the one about the city by the bay. And there's a pause, And he's like, well, actually, kid, it's the city by the sea. So maybe it's a better idea you don't sing it. So I got schooled by Tony Bennett.
And I know he's the friendliest guy in the world, and he would never begrudge anyone. So I didn't know where you were going with this. Because at first I thought you're going to tell me that he said, "You're off the gig, kid. Nobody sings these songs but me." That's not Tony Bennett.
No.
That's other people, but that's not Tony Bennett.
Right.
But you actually went for a joke that just fell sideways.
It fell sideways.
And honestly, he can't see your face. So he might think you're an ignorant punk, but he might not. Like, you don't know at that point.
Exactly.
Hey, so what do you have now? This thing is going to air after the fact. So no, this isn't going live, right?
Okay.
So you can tell me, is there something you're working on in the next little bit? Something that where we can find you or follow you?
Yeah, so I am really making a lot of these Singstagrams for people. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on because of the lack of live shows. So
right, it keeps the creative juices flowing and a few bucks. Yeah, right on.
And keeps people really happy. So, if you have a family member you want to honor for their birthday or for a retirement or for anniversary, we can custom write a song all about them or you, and then make a video for you. And you have the song.
I have a job for you, but it's going to require, it's probably going to be a very expensive song.
Okay.
My father just finished his memoirs. It's 222 pages. I just thought, maybe when the book comes out in the next couple of months, maybe I should send it to you and say, read it when you have time. And if you'd like to write a song based on his memoirs.
Wait, is there gonna be Cole's notes?
I'll have to give them to you. Exactly. I'll have to give you a few highlights, I think, because that's a lot to ask. Read 222 pages to write a 1.5-minute song.
Right. It's involved.
So I hope you get up to Toronto soon. I really want to book you up here. I really want to get you up here so people can see what you do. And before we go, if it's okay with you, just a little bit of information on someone who I think you're related to, Gary Underpants, because sometimes when Adam Jaymz is performing, there's a break. And then at the end of the night, Gary Underpants jumps onto a turntable or a computer and starts doing some entertainment.
I've noticed that happens. Sometimes, yeah. This guy Gary Underpants was born at Burning Man, and you get a nickname when you get out there at Burning Man, and so I somehow got to be Gary Underpants, and I've realized that when you create an alter ego for yourself, you get to outsource your actual ego to that person. So, and there's a little more leeway because you're having fun, you're playing with it. So.
Yeah, you get to, it's self-effacing. You get to kind of make fun of yourself. I'm not talking Chris Gaines. I'm not that amazing. But, Great Bob Scott's name is Jerry. He changed it to Bob. Right. So Gary Underpants is Adam. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. Yeah, and he has a lot of fun. He makes a lot of remixes on Ableton and then sings mashups, live mashups. He mixes songs together. And
big fan of the mashups. Big fan. Because what it does is it includes everybody. If they don't know the lyrics, they'll know the song you're singing, or maybe they'll know both, but they come from sometimes decades apart.
That's what I love. And to me, honestly, that's what jazz is. Jazz is taking something that exists and then making something else out of it. It's that simple, how you feel about it in the moment. So I love taking these songs that are famous and adding some other famous song to it and then singing live over top of it,
It's amazing. Well, I hope everybody follows you and everybody orders a song from you. And I guess I'll toast you with this because I refuse to drink this, although I will clean my house with it.
Cheers.
Thanks, Adam. Great to talk to you.
Great to chat with you, Jaymz. All the best wishes to everyone, especially in Toronto. Much love.
Right on. Cheers.
Yay.